you speak. Come on up.
Hi, my name is Michael Costanz. I live at 13 Bayberry Lane, and I come to you tonight as a father and a public school teacher. I grew up in North Stonington, and my family has called Eastern Connecticut its home for a long time. In fact, my great-great-great-great-grandparents are buried down the road on Ross Hill Road, circa 1815, and in fact, I'm told that they actually helped Tom Sparkman petition onto the ballot for first selectman once upon a time. Lisbon's a great town. We have a great school system with a great reputation, one of the reasons that I chose to live here. We have great leaders in this town who devote their lives to service to the community. Mrs. Jenks herself, right here tonight. Few have done more to serve the seniors in our state than she has. Tonight, we're asking you to do something to serve our children. My child and the children of many of the other people here tonight, we'd like them to graduate someday as alumni of Lisbon Central School, and from there move on to become leaders in their own right in this town and beyond. We need you to support our children and their parents. And by that specifically, we mean we need you to support our right to choose. Many of the parents you'll hear from tonight and you've been hearing from in this community are telling you that you do not have their consent to have them to force masks on their faces all day throughout the school year. Now, I'm not suggesting that any of you want to force masks on the faces of our children. After all, if I had come to you 2 years ago and said, "Psst, I can get you a bunch of money and all you have to do is mask up our kids all day," we all would have recoiled at such a suggestion as abusive just 2 short years ago. Obviously, we don't consider it healthy or normal or natural to mask our kids. It carries obvious physical and emotional harm. So why did we do it? COVID had us scared. We wanted to get our schools open again. We wanted to keep our kids as safe as possible. Fine, I get it. We're all forgiven. But now, 18 months later, we know better. Our teachers, most adults, have had the opportunity to get the vaccine. Connecticut has one of the highest vaccination rates. And meanwhile, our kids are overwhelmingly safe with a near statistical zero risk of death nationwide. And not even the hysteria recently over the Delta variant has changed that. As of this morning, the same number of fatalities on the Connecticut list for ages 0 to 19, it was the same number as it was several months ago. It hasn't changed. It's literally 4 out of all the children in the state. Now, we know about the governor's executive order. We know that there's new grant monies on the table, and that if you don't comply with his orders, you could be in for some trouble in terms of that grant money. One local school district, the one that I teach, said their superintendent could lose their license if they defied his order. That doesn't matter. Don't sell our kids out for a few extra dollars. Don't sell our kids out if you're just worried about Mrs. Keating's resume. None of that matters to us. Our schools exist to serve our children. It's not the other way around. Our children don't exist to serve our schools. There's no need to pick a winner or a loser here. A reasonable compromise is staring you in the face. Let parents choose. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Steve Lawhead. I'm 1 Bayberry Lane here in Lisbon. I've lived here for quite a while. I've got 3 kids. They've all graduated from this school, born and raised here in Lisbon, attended the school. It's a great school, no question about it. And now I've got 3 grandkids. They don't attend this school, but they attend other schools. And that's why I'm here tonight. You know, this all started out last year, almost 18 months ago, with 15 days to flatten the curve. And now we've gone through many iterations since then, and now the goal appears to be zero COVID. And if your kid doesn't wear a mask to school, he's a murderer. We've heard that expressed by some people. I think they're nuts, but that's how the people feel. I brought some masks here. You know, I've got this one here that comes from the box that says doesn't protect you from COVID, and change it every 4 hours. This one I've been using probably since March. I threw away the other one that I used for the entire year before. Grandma made these for the grandkids. Here's Minnie Mouse, and I think this is a Puppy Pals or something. You know, these are the secret weapon here. Grandma made them. She cut out the pattern from Pinterest, sewed them at the kitchen table, and now they're imbued with secret superpowers to prevent the COVID-19 from getting to the kids and from them from getting out. Kind of ridiculous if you think about it. One of the concerns is the vulnerable children in the school. And I would say to that we have to consider them, but you have to take action on their behalf to protect them. These masks with 5-year-olds and 8-year-olds wearing them for 8 hours a day are not going to protect anybody in this school, especially the vulnerable children. If I had a child like that, I wouldn't be depending on an 8-year-old kid wearing a mask, a puppy pal mask, to protect them. I think it's ludicrous and ridiculous. What you should do, when school starts up in a couple weeks, you should put a camera in one of the classrooms and record them for a couple hours. Because I'll bet you it would make great entertainment to play it back and watch how these kids are wearing their masks effectively. I think it would be pretty obvious that it's not a very effective solution to the problem. All I ask is that you open your eyes and look around you. I think everybody here is intelligent enough to look around and realize that these are not going to
That's 3 minutes.
solve our problem. Push back on the governor, push back on the state, ask for the option to make masks optional. Thank you.
Hello.
Hi.
My name is Christy Wood, and I want to start out by saying thank you for everybody who volunteers their time on the Board of Ed. I also would like to say that how much I love most of the teachers in Lisbon School, and I lost my original speech, so I had to rewrite this one in the car. All right, so most of the teachers in Lisbon that I love. With the decision made for the return of the process to return to school, and the way you handled the last 2 meetings, y'all lost me. The one thing I will say thank you for is the confidence distant learning gave me, and with that, I have chosen to withdraw my children from the school this year. It wasn't an easy decision to make, but I had no other choice with how I feel and with what you guys are going with. It was pretty tough on all of us. I enrolled them in a private academy, so I have much faith that they will be taught well this year. This was my choice, but it was because of your decisions and the absolute ridiculous guidelines that I have had to make this choice. My son, who's going into kindergarten, or who would be going into kindergarten in this school, he does not wear a mask anywhere, and he would be forced to wear one. He doesn't understand it, and he doesn't, even though I explain it to him, he doesn't know why. Let alone, how is he supposed to learn sounds, pronunciations, anything that a normal person would learn in school with their face covered? I mean, it's bad. You all know this. Everybody here should know that. You can't teach a kid with your face covered. You know, my daughter, she likes to follow the rules at school. Anybody who knows her knows that she does. And you're conditioning her to want to wear a mask to school. She doesn't want to wear it anywhere else but to school. She wants to make her outfits match her mask. That's sickening. It's not fun, it's sickening. Okay, so there are 4 kids who died of COVID in Connecticut, and they all had underlying sicknesses. 99% of kids and adults ages 5 to 70, if they don't have anything wrong with them, recover from COVID. Children who are at high risk, I feel, should have a choice to wear a mask if they want. You know, I understand because of the ESSER grant and because of all the conditions people are putting on you, you know, you have to follow regulations, but I beg you that when you can lift this mandate, you do. You allow these kids to learn, to see people's faces, to make them, you're making them feel that the air around them is sick for them. They feel like they're carriers, especially these little kids. You guys are just forcing such a, not just you. I understand that you guys are pressured to do this, but you all had a choice to say no to the grant money. You have a choice to push back. You do have a choice, and you all are standing there with your hands tied like there's nothing to do. I don't understand why you just can't stand up. And teachers want us to tell our kids nothing.
That's 3 minutes.
Okay, they want us to tell us nothing, so I understand that they have a livelihood and that they have to tell these kids what to do, but I feel that they know that this is wrong for these children, and they should not tell anyone to tell their children what is really not happening in this world, just so their life is easier. Thank you. So much more to say.
Hello, I'm Jessica Coney, and I live on Bundy Hill Road. So first, I'd like to thank you for having this meeting. I have to say I was a little bit disappointed the past 2 meetings were canceled. And as a parent with 4 children in your school this year, I had looked forward to hearing your reopening plans before you submitted them, and also giving praise for last year's teacher, and maybe some insight on how last year's guidelines positively and negatively affected my family. Although I am 100% against another mask mandate for our children, for a second year in a row, I'm not even going to talk about that because I think enough people already did that already. I know that you can't really do anything until the governor lifts the mask mandate for schools. I do hope when that time comes, Lisbon will leave that decision up to the parents to do what is personally best for their children. I will be honest, I went into last school year with not very high expectations or hopes. I do think my children had a positive school year despite all those guidelines and restrictions you had in place. Some of them were necessary, some of them not so much. Your teachers did a fantastic job of getting around those guidelines and making the school year as fun as they could. This past year, looking around our community, whether it be from our local Facebook page, which we all know can be a train wreck, the hostility between parents, neighbors, and towards our teachers was very disappointing. I think everybody could show a little bit more compassion towards each other, even those who are thinking differently. The whole motto this year had been to think about other people rather than yourself to keep them safe. I challenge you to think about our children's mental health. I've watched our children's mental health be dismissed this past year, and I have watched people claim how resilient our children are. Resilient has been a huge overused word. Maybe your children are resilient and you're some of the lucky ones. I hope you never have a child that struggles with mental health issues at such a young age. Yet I would be told by some in the community that I'm selfish or wrong for not wanting these guidelines or masks. Depression and anxiety, they do not discriminate. They don't care what gender you are, and they don't care what age you are. So the next time you see a parent who is against some of the guidelines, I challenge you to stop for a moment and to not judge. My child's mental health is a top priority. It took years for me to get my child for where he is today, to feel like a normal child, just for it to be challenged when COVID hit. Let's see here. A lot of my concerns for this upcoming school year have been remedied through a reopening plan, so I rewrote a lot of this. I'm happy to see that the older grades are able to switch classes and get lockers. I would like a little bit more clarification on the outside mask wearing. I didn't quite understand that in the reopening plan. Our children were not able to turn around or turn to the side to speak to their friends in class. They were
That's
told...
3 minutes.
Can I finish if nobody else is up here?
3 minutes.
Yeah. No, is that? Oh, okay, sorry. All right, well, I had a lot more to say with that, but...
You can, at the end is a comment session, so
Okay.
you can finish them.
All right, sounds good.
Hello. For anyone who may not know me, my name is Adam Sulik, and I'm a resident in Lisbon, and the father of a little girl going into 4th grade. I'm for small government, big guns, and if you've ever seen me in Lisbon now, I'm a pretty big fan of questionable fireworks. I also understand, though, that freedom comes with a cost, and sometimes we have to pull together and do things we don't want to for the greater good. What we have in town is a growing body of individuals who have decided that the view count on a YouTube video matters more than the number of citations a peer-reviewed study published in Nature has received. That mentality is unequivocally and fundamentally wrong. However, this type of groupthink isn't anything new. As the body entrusted with the safety and education of our towns and our country's most treasured asset, our children, a large burden is put on your shoulders. On one hand, you have to make sure the voices, and rightfully so, of my fellow town members are heard. But on the other, you have a charter to uphold, making sure our children are safe, secure, and able to receive the education of which they are entitled. I implore each of you to take emotion, politics, and even personal preference out of the equation. I don't like wearing pants. Who doesn't want to get home from work and put in something more comfortable? But I do it. Likewise with masks, I'm not pretending I enjoy wearing those things at all. But the fact is, masks work, period. I'm not saying that they're perfect. Some of my fellow residents with opposing views of my own will point to things like viral researchers wearing full bodysuits to deal with the virus for protection. And you know what? You guys are right. The problem is that it creates an all or nothing mentality. If masks aren't 100% effective, why use them? If the vaccine is only 95% effective, why bother? But that's not how things work. Most of you will have no problem giving your kid Motrin to stop a fever, even though some of the population can die from taking that same thing due to allergies. In other parts of our lives, we understand and accept that 100% doesn't exist, and we need to stop pretending it should be different here. In the middle of a pandemic, what we're doing is fighting a numbers game. It's time to put aside our differences and look at this honestly and objectively. I'd like the day to be sooner rather than later where we can get rid of masks. And I'm sure all of us on both sides of this can agree. Vaccines for the 2 and up group are around the corner, and that's going to be a huge step. I believe masks need to stay, and what we should do is reopen the discussion for removing them when our students have had the opportunity to get that. And I believe it is your choice to get vaccinated, not get vaccinated, wear a mask, not wear a mask. But when my kid has the choice to get the vaccine and we're able to make that decision, then lift the mask mandate. Thank you.
The next thing on the agenda is correspondence for the Board of Education, and Joe Lurek will read what we have.
Okay. So we have the emails to the Board of Education. Is that me?
Oh, it's not me.
All right.
Just read.
So addressed to Judy Jenks, Board of Education.
Is your microphone on?
I think so. All right. So addressed to Judy Jenks, Board of Education, dated Tuesday, July 13th. And this is from Mr. Michael Costanza, Bayberry Lane, to the Lisbon Board of Education. Imagine if a few years ago someone had suggested making our children from preschoolers up wear masks over their faces all day, every day at school. All of you, as decent people, would have recoiled at the idea and probably considered the person proposing it insane and dangerous. Then COVID changed everything. This school board and others didn't suddenly decide that forcing children to wear masks was healthy or helpful or fun or good in any way. You did this out of urgency, a desire to reopen schools while keeping children and their families safe. But now we know better. We know both that our children are extremely safe from COVID and that forcing them to wear masks causes physical and social, emotional harm. I have seen this firsthand as a parent and as a public school teacher. Masks interfere with communication and learning. After the last 16 months, we can't afford more of that. Masks interfere with socialization and emotional health. They are dehumanizing. We can't afford more of that either. And to state the obvious, masks interfere with breathing. Far from keeping you safe, they can make you sick. It happened to me last fall, and they hinder your immune system. We definitely can't afford that. But then all of us knew this already, didn't we? Which is why the idea of forcing masks on our kids would have been called abusive before March 2020. So let us ask, what are the dangers from COVID that still justify doing something that we know is harmful to our kids? Children are dying from COVID, is that it? No, our kids are exceedingly safe and the death rate stands essentially at 0. This has been the case all along. Maybe we can be forgiven for being so cautious last August, but now we know better. Connecticut's strict masking policies deserve the credit for keeping our kids so safe. Is that it? Again, no. Even in states where schools opened long before Connecticut's and where masking policies were far more lenient, the child death rate still stands near zero. Furthermore, the most recent and most comprehensive studies, including one cited this week from the UK, show a survival rate of 99.995% among children, and that the death rate was well under half of what was originally reported. Wall Street Journal, July 8. Maybe last August you wanted to play it safe. We can all be forgiven for that, but now we know better. Young kids still can't get the COVID vaccine. Is that why we need masks? No. The minuscule death rate proves that our kids are as good as vaccinated. Add to this that Connecticut has one of the highest vaccination rates in the U.S., if not the world, and that every adult, including teachers, who wants the shot has had the chance to get it. Add to that the fact that the students and teachers you'd be forcing to wear masks are vacationing right this minute in states with no mask rules, gathering in homes, at the beach, at ballparks, and shopping in stores with no masks on. Forcing our children to wear masks just so we can collect grant money is just plain wrong. A few years ago, all of us, all of you, would have condemned such an idea as abusive. Maybe last August these rules made sense, forgiven, but now we see they are indeed abusive. Now you know better. Do the right thing, stand up for your students, do not enforce any mask mandates. Respectfully submitted, Michael Costanza, Bayberry Lane, Lisbon. All right, so next correspondence is addressed to Superintendent Sally Keating and BOE members, dated July 27th, 2021. I want to start my comments addressing the number of Lisbon residents and parents we have here today. It fills my heart with pride to see so many. It also weighs heavy on my heart knowing what it took and why they are here. I want you to take a minute to take it all in, take in the energy of this room, the emotions on all the faces, and most importantly, listen to the words spoken by those with the courage to not only show up, but to stand up in front of you and everyone in the gallery while sharing their feelings and concerns. As members of the Board of Education, you are serving as liaisons for the people of this town. You are representing the residents, parents, and staff of LCS. What a heavy burden that must be. I appreciate you, I respect you, I empathize with you having to navigate through this very controversial and honestly messy and unfair scenario our state officials have laid out for you all collectively. I believe if you listen closely, you will hear underneath all that roused and heartfelt emotions, we are all here this evening to tell you just that. My hope and request is that you are also willing to put your trust in us, the tax-paying members of this community that voted to put you all here, and trusting our families with your discretions on policies that directly impact us all as a whole. Let's also be very clear. We all love this school and the community. We have all chosen to reside here in this beautiful, family-oriented small town that is known for its amazing school. Some families have had generations after generations coming through these halls. I believe I am justified in saying I speak on behalf of the residents here tonight in saying all we are asking for is the right to retain a choice. Our choice to send our children to school with a mask or not to. A choice to vaccinate our children against COVID-19 virus or not to. Our choice to parent as we feel is best for our family morally and ethically based on our individual beliefs. If you are going to remove the option of remote learning, I appeal to you to keep the option to choose when it comes to masking and vaccinating our children. If you retain nothing else from my words tonight, I implore you to hear this. Do not sell out our children. I feel very strongly that if parents were asked to choose between $427,000 in ARP ESSER grant funds, they would choose their right to retain a choice to mask or not, to vaccinate or not. Parents would choose to have their children back playing interscholastic sports without screening and testing. Graduation back inside instead of curbside, dances, PTO fundraisers, trunk or treats, all back to their traditional manner here at LCS. Advocate for our children and our teachers and honor our right to choice by voting to dismiss the guidelines laid out by CSDE, DOH, DOE, OEC. You are supported. We have your back. We are ready to stand behind you. Do you have ours? Thank you, Katie Vane. Okay, and this is the final one, an email from Kayla Garcia, dated Tuesday, July 27th, 2021. to Ms. Jenks and I believe, all the other members of the Board of Education. Hello, LCS Board of Education members. My name is Kayla Garcia. I have been a resident of Lisbon on and off for the last 25 years. My parents moved to Lisbon for the wonderful school system that I can attest to being quite exceptional. I attended LCS from kindergarten to 8th grade. I have many fond memories growing up in this town and the close-knit group of friends that I still have today. I now have 2 children of my own, ages 3 and 8. I moved back to my hometown last year and decided against putting my oldest in the school system for a few reasons, one of them being the mask mandate and not feeling comfortable with her being in a mask for many hours at a time. I will keep this short and sweet, although I could go on, but I am in opposition of the mask mandate in Connecticut. I am in favor of freedom of choice. Thank you. Please read at BOE meeting and make note that I am in opposition of mandating masks for school children this upcoming school year. End of email.
That's the correspondence. The student ambassadors are on summer break, so they're not here tonight. And now we will move to the approval of the minutes for the June 21st meeting. Do we have a motion to accept the minutes? Okay, Scott McCabe, do we have a second? Missy Avery. Any questions, comments, corrections? There being none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, thank you. Now we have the administrators' reports. Brian Apperson for Lisbon Central School.
Thank you. Well, it's been a busy summer, and just trying to get everything ready for our kiddos to come back on the 30th. We have PD 2 days prior to that. So we're working on schedules for students, for teachers, the lunch and recess schedules, the AM, PM duties, all the little things that we need to make sure of to make sure the kids are supervised and ready to go. Also planning professional development for the year, adding some plans for technology as well, getting computers ready, getting labs, carts, that sort of thing. Also keeping up with state reports, trying to make sure that those are all being accurately reported and dealt with, analyzing student data, ordering supplies, just doing all the things that we need to do to get the year running smoothly. So a lot of hard work has gone into it by many, many different people, so I appreciate all the efforts from everyone.
Any board members have any questions for Brian? Okay. Next is the business office, Diane Cormier.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
There are 2 Medicaid reports. The first one being for the month of June. And as you can see in the adjustment column, we received about $21,000 for last fiscal year for Medicaid. We spent between what we've actually spent and the encumbrances almost $18,000, which puts us forward to start the new year with almost $18,000. If you look at the next report, which is for the month of July, as you see in the beginning, there's the budget which carried forward from the ending balance. We had an adjustment of a little over $5,000, which shows the money that we received for the month, and we spent about $1,200 so far, with our remaining budget close to $20,000 to move forward into August.
Okay. Any questions? There being no questions, we will move on to building and grounds with Brian McGlue.
I just wanted to let you know the building's almost ready for the start of the new school year. I'd like to give a shout out to the custodians for doing a great job and doing the extreme heat here, trying to get this building ready for the upcoming school year. But we're on task and we're ready to roll.
Okay. Any questions for Brian? Okay. And next is Sally Keating, the superintendent.
Yes, thank you. This year we are beginning a partnership with UCFS. You probably know it better as United Community and Family Services. UCFS is going to provide us with 1-hour informational sessions every other month regarding issues dealing with mental health, social emotional topics, for students as well as for families. For example, they may talk about the possible impact that it's had on everyone, the pandemic. They are also going to talk about possibly the overdependence on the use of technology, things like that. UCFS and we are drafting an agreement, and we are excited about this opportunity. Thank you.
Okay, any questions? Okay, next on the agenda is monthly expenditures. And I need a motion to approve monthly expenditures for June 2021, fiscal year 2020-2021 in the amount of $1,109,120.17.
Make the motion.
Joe makes the motion. Do we have a second? Ian seconds. Any questions, comments? All those in favor, say aye. Opposed? Okay. Next on the agenda is a motion to approve monthly expenditures for July 2021, fiscal year 2020-2021 in the amount of $62,813.95. A motion? Joan Marshall, second. Ian, any questions, comments? All those in favor? Opposed? Okay. The next thing is a motion to approve monthly expenditures for July 2021, fiscal year 2021-2022 in the amount of $727,261.67. Do we have a motion? Ian, and a second by Joan Marshall. Any questions, comments? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Okay. Opposed? Now we have the financial statements. We need a motion to approve the financial statement for June 2021, fiscal year 2020-2021 as presented by the administration. Ian and Missy Avery is the second. Any questions, comments? All those in favor say aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next is a motion to approve the financial statement of July 2021, fiscal year 2020-2021 as presented by the administration. Motion? A motion? Lauren and Ian? And I don't know why this. All those in favor? Do you think it's mine?
Why not? Let's try.
Thank you, Dave. Thanks.
Okay. Is this better? Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so we have the,
Nope, that's not.
we have the motion, we have the second. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay. So the final motion is to approve the financial statement for 2021, fiscal year 2021-2022 as presented by the administration. A motion? Ian, second. Lauren? Thank you. All those in favor? Those opposed? Okay, next on the agenda is transfers. Diane Cormier will report regarding transfers.
So this is done for the month of June. So as you know, the end of the year we level out or we redistribute any appropriations that we need to. So this was just a current listing for the month of June.
Okay. See if that helps. Thank you, Scott. Okay, so are there any questions for Diana? Okay, a motion to acknowledge the June 2021 fiscal year 2020-2021 transfers as presented by the administration. A motion? Ian and Joe seconds. Any questions, comments? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion carries. Under new business, old business is a discussion for mask protocol and possible action. Sally.
Yes, thank you. I did tell the board that I would summarize the most recent news provided by the authorities regarding the masks. Currently, masks are to be worn inside the school. There is an executive order by the governor which mandates masks in school through September 30th. There is also a federal order requiring masks to be used on public transportation, including school buses. What I would like everyone to know is that updated mask guidance for fall 2021 will be finalized by the authorities in the next few weeks. We are supposed to hear something, and that is the latest news.
Any questions, comments from the board? Okay, next on the agenda is social distancing protocol and possible action.
I'd be happy to take that. Thank you. The CDC, DPH, and the State Department of Education has now recommended at least 3 feet of physical distance in classrooms when feasible, along with layered mitigation strategies. If there's any change, it'll be coming in the next couple of weeks, but right now that is the recent news.
Okay, questions? Okay, next on the agenda is sports at Lisbon Central School. Sally?
Yes, I'll start the conversation, and then if Principal Brian Apperson wants to jump in, that's fine. The DPH, by the way, that's, I think you all know, Department of Public Health, and the CSDE, Connecticut State Department of Education, state the following. It's good news. All fall sports should begin on time. Fully vaccinated students, staff do not have to quarantine from sports or other activities if they are asymptomatic after contact with a COVID situation. That's fully vaccinated. They do recommend weekly tests. We're looking into this for unvaccinated athletes and coaches. They are advocating that sports be held outside as much as possible. The good news here is that we are going to have interscholastic sports starting this school year. Mr. Apperson, did you have anything to add?
Nope, just we're all set to get started. We're planning the schedules, just finalizing, getting coaches, and then next step is just getting the kids there. So.
Good. Excellent. Any questions about that? Okay, next on the agenda is snow days. Sally?
Yes, thank you. I believe I was asked by the board to check with the Connecticut State Department of Education if remote learning could be used as a makeup option for school cancellations due to weather. I did that. It's in your packet. The answer right now is no.
Okay.
I have a
Dave?
just a question on that, the wording of that. Is it clear that it was asked that the remote option can be on a snow day? Because the way it was kind of worded about a makeup day, to me almost implied that end of the year makeup day, could that be a remote option as a makeup day, as opposed to if the question was, can remote instruction be used in lieu of attendance on a day that was otherwise canceled for snow? So I just don't know if that answer was specific to the question that may have been wanted to be asked.
What I can tell you, Dave, is that I also gave this to other superintendents. I did not attend this meeting, but it came up at a meeting, and no, right now, it is not a viable option.
Okay, thank you.
I see your point, but yeah, we checked into it. Not me personally, but some other superintendents.
Right.
So
And
it could change, though. It could change.
And I had hoped, Dave, they were going to leave that up to the municipalities and that we could each, decide. So, hopefully, but we don't know. Anything else about snow days? Okay, committee reports. Negotiating committee met earlier today, and I was called out of the meeting. Ian, do you have anything about that?
No, just may I intercede. I'm sorry to do this with the board chair. We are not really to say much about it. It's confidential. However, I think we were going to say that Mr. Rogers is now definitely on that negotiations committee, along with you, I believe, Jen Danberg, and Scott McCabe.
Okay.
Okay. I didn't get to you in time, so I apologize for that.
That's okay.
All right.
Are there any other committee reports? I don't believe any other committees met. Okay. Any additions to the agenda? Does anybody have anything they want to add to tonight? For the next agenda, does anyone have anything for next month for the agenda? Transportation contract?
Yes, that's up this year. You are correct, Mr. Lewick.
Okay. Is there anything else?
Yes. Well, some of the ones from the last couple meetings that you've done a great job on, but also one regarding vaccination status of,
Okay.
immunizations and vaccination. I believe that's going to be on.
Okay, so we have transportation and policies. Anything else? Dave?
I think you mentioned there may be some preliminary information regarding the state tests from last year. I know that's still in the probably embargoed stage, but maybe by then we'll have something. I know it's a a difficult compilation from last year.
Yeah, yes, it's kind of interesting data. Again, just to clarify, I'm not sure if it's embargoed or not. We're trying to get clarification, but hopefully we can do that. All right.
Anything else?
I'd like to add, revisit the mask mandate. We'll know more by
Mask. Okay, so we'll have masks back on. Anything else? Anyone have anything else for the agenda for next time? Okay, so we are back to public comment. So the same thing applies. Come up, state your name and your address, and somebody had not finished their comment. Oh, there she is.
I just had a couple questions that I wanted to know if it was true or not. The first question I would like to know is, are you guys hiring any new counselors for this year?
This is just comments. It's not answers.
Okay, so can somebody email me the answer to these questions, or do I need to email these questions to Sally or you personally?
I would prefer that they were in an email.
You would prefer? Okay, so what I need to know is if you're hiring any new counselors, particularly one counselor from UCFS, along with any other counselors, and if that is part of the grant and it's required, I'd like to know that. And I'd also like to know if the students are being tested for COVID. The kids that are not vaccinated, are up to like 40% of the students are going to be tested at all at random, is another question that I would like to know. And those are the two questions that I would like. My name is Christy Wood, so you can email me back.
No, you need to send an email to us.
I will, but
Okay.
I email back because I sent quite a few emails and just received the I got your email. So
Right. Exactly.
that could have answered as well. So I'll make sure that.
All right, I'm back again. I just think it's very important to talk about some other things besides masks here tonight. So I'll finish where I left off. So last year, our children were not able to turn around or turn to the side to speak to their friends in class. They were told it wasn't safe. We now know this year that's not true. Last year, our children were made to sit in one classroom most of the day except for recess. I am aware that did change towards the end of the year, and they were eventually able to eat lunch in the cafeteria. I don't know if you understand how challenging that is for an active 6-year-old first grader having to sit at a desk all day. Or my other child that struggles with ADHD and mental health issues. Being made to stay in a classroom all day is pretty hard. Me? All right. My son's 504 plan last year was basically useless. Prior years, he would have been able to have movement breaks, whether it was a quick trip to the bathroom.
Hear you, so just keep
Oh, okay.
talking.
All right.
We can hear you. It's
Oh,
just
is it, you
that.
think it's the phone, maybe? Oh, I would have wrote it down. So, prior years, he would have been able to have movement breaks, whether it was a quick trip to the bathroom or bringing papers down to the office. None of that could happen last year. The kind of toll that takes on our children mentally is huge. I hope more movement throughout the school year this year will be made a priority. My daughter made the honor roll and high honors last year, which was a pretty huge accomplishment. With that said, the one thing she said was the hardest was being in the classroom all day and being stuck at her desk. That's really heartbreaking to hear, or constantly being told to socially distance while you're in the hallway. There were many times my children felt uncomfortable in class when the teachers would talk about COVID or their parents' vaccination status. Although I believe it was an innocent mistake on behalf of the teacher, it was nonetheless totally unacceptable to be asking children if their parents were vaccinated and to raise their hands. I will say the problem was taken care of when I brought it to the administration, and we didn't have an issue again. Many of these guidelines were so taxing for our children, yet dismissed because once again, we were told our children are so resilient. We know so much more about this pandemic a year later. Although anyone can be at risk, we do know children pose the lowest risk. I sure hope our children will be able to move freely through the hallway this year and use the bathroom. My kids shouldn't be afraid they're going to pee in their pants because they have to wait until it's their turn for a bathroom break or wait for a runner. Lastly, I would like to talk about how Lisbon was one of the only schools who did not have sports available to their kids. When we did have sports, you canceled them after 2 or 3 practices. My daughter was in track and field and waited all year to participate, only to have that taken away because there were a couple positive cases in the older grades that were not even tied to the sports. I was told we needed to be as safe as
That's
possible.
3 minutes.
Although I may be critiquing some of the guidelines here tonight that were put in place last year, I would like to praise the teachers of Lisbon and our children who really had to do the impossible. I do think they did a great job. Thank you.
I don't think you guys understand your job. This discussion about, I think Mrs. Keating said, we'll wait to see what the authorities have to say. You are the authority. In fact, the parents are the authorities, and they elected you on their behalf to do the job for their kids. If we're just going to wait for the authorities, you could all step down now, save us the cost of having elections every couple of years, save us the cost of a superintendent's salary, and just let the authorities issue their edicts. Why are we going through this farcical comedy and speaking of farces, walking out on parents at one meeting, scheduling a meeting for the next week and canceling 2 hours ahead of time, and then this charade tonight in the parking lot? Do your jobs. Let's also start connecting the dots. Mental health. It's so easy to say, but we don't want to connect the dots to ask ourselves, what's causing some of these mental health problems? Gee, could it be connected possibly to the fact that we're muzzling our preschoolers and kindergartners and other elementary school age students all day at school, asking them to raise their hands if their parents have received a certain medical procedure? Could that be connected to it? Why are we spending money to solve problems that we are helping to create? Parents, tonight, next week, however many weeks we keep getting these non-answer answers, just stay in the fight because the next mandates are going to be worse. They're clearly not going to do their jobs. I'm also disappointed in some board members who I know feel strongly about this matter, but sit silently at these meetings. There are ways to push back, parents, to protect your children if you need to. If you can, homeschool. The Connecticut Homeschool Network on Facebook is a great resource, and they have a page devoted specifically for parents who are making those decisions right now as we speak. If that's not an option for you, you can save your children some anxiety by sending a simple letter to the superintendent and principal, opting them out of the standardized testing each year, the SBACs. Your children are not required to take those tests, and there's not a thing that any of the non-authorities up here can do to stop you from opting them out. Just send a letter to Mrs. Keating and to Mr. Apperson about that. And as a father and as a public school teacher myself, who becomes increasingly disillusioned and frustrated with our local officials not standing up for our kids, I'm happy to talk to anyone about my experience homeschooling, about the standardized testing, about the experience in school with masks, and I'll do whatever I can with whatever ounce of power I have to help you with that. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Tricia Goodbranson, and I agree with everything that these parents are saying. It's very disheartening to see the Board of Ed not fighting for our children. I'm a mom. I have 3 kids right here, 10, 13, and 15, and I can't for the life of me figure out how, if any of you people on the Board of Ed have children, how you're not fighting for these kids. If you can't do your job, step down. Plenty of us parents here will step up and do the job. It's not that hard. You guys need to speak up. We're all going to the Capitol protesting. We're telling them what we want. You guys need to get together with other boards of eds in the surrounding towns, gather together just like we're doing as parents, and stand up to the state. I've decided, after going to so many Board of Ed meetings and seeing the disgrace in the school system, last year especially, I was absolutely disgusted with everything that I saw. I saw these disgusting transgender posters on the walls made by 13-year-olds in a club in the school. I saw disgusting pictures on the wall. I saw them pushing poly this, poly that. What are you guys doing with these kids? Why are you pushing a sick agenda on these kids? That's sexual harassment. I think the only smart option for all of us parents in Connecticut is to withdraw our children from the school and homeschool them. I am withdrawing my 3 very intelligent children tomorrow, and I encourage parents to come and talk to me. I'm on Facebook. I'm on all the homeschooling websites. You can find me. I'm a single mom, and I'm going to do what I need to do for my kids. You guys can certainly do what you need to do for our kids too, but you're not doing your job. So you guys need to start listening to us and stop being cowards.
Anyone else? Okay, there is no one else. The meeting is adjourned.